If you feel like you're working hard but still falling behind, this will make sense. After serving as a CEO and board member of many tech companies, I started noticing a surprising pattern in those who succeed versus those who don't. These are 7 high-income habits, each inspired by a legendary mind that just might rewire how you think, how you work, and how you grow. First up is anxiety. Anxiety is not your enemy, it's your edge. But it's a superpower only if you know how to harness it. Jensen Huang is the CEO of NVIDIA, as we know, and his company has helped spark the AI revolution and is now worth over $3 trillion. But according to his biographer, Huang is fueled almost entirely by negative emotions, like anxiety. Even today, after all this success, he gets anxious, but he doesn't suppress it. He channels it to be productive. The highest paid professionals in every industry share this counterintuitive trait. They have learned to harness anxiety in high-stakes situations. I know this from my personal experience. In business or as a performing musician, I've had hundreds of opportunities to perform on stage, but I can't remember a single one where I was not nervous or anxious before stepping on stage. Every single time. And neuroscience backs this up too. It's called the Yerkes-Dodson law. It talks about an optimal zone of performance. So my loose interpretation here is that there's a zone between extreme panic and extreme boredom where your cognitive performance is optimal. And that often is the sweet spot where high-income performers usually operate. Because risk, responsibility, and rewards are interconnected. So I used to think about it this way. Anxiety is not a fire alarm. It's a wake-up alarm. It's your brain saying, hey, wake up and pay attention. This is important. You can try this. First, rehearse, like a lot. Whether it's a pitch or a negotiation or a job interview, practice under pressure. Prepare well, do the research, practice delivery. Second, expect anxiety to be there and label it early as it arises and tell yourself, this is anxiety and I'm fine with it. And third, track your anxiety to income correlation. Notice how your biggest career breakthroughs often follow your most nerve-wracking challenges. The anxiety-income equation looks exactly like the risk-reward equation. In most cases, high income and high pressure tend to travel together. So if you want the first, you have to master the second. Next up, how do you build immunity to any virus? Get exposed to it. This is called antifragility. Systems that gain strength from the threat itself. Nassim Taleb discovered this principle almost everywhere he looked. He thought of 3 systems. First, fragile systems, which breaks under stress, like glass, for example. Second, robust systems. Now they resist stress, but they don't change much, like a rock. And third are the anti-fragile systems. They get better because of the stress. So muscles, immune system, evolution, those are great examples. The more volatility hits that system, the stronger it becomes. So what many high-income performers learn over time is this. They don't just develop resilience to stress, they get stronger because of it. Here's what you may want to try. First, seek out manageable stress so you can build a muscle. For instance, speak up when it's uncomfortable in a meeting, or reach out to someone to ask for advice, or try to get a project that's harder for you to deliver. You will be surprised to see how all of it becomes easier over time. Second, add a little bit of control chaos in your routines. What I do is I add new things to my routine. So I'll use new tools, for example, new software. I'll go to new places or try new foods. These are controlled experiments that disrupt your routine, and that also builds muscles. And third, create optionality, multiple income streams, diverse skills, broad network. Always think in terms of plan A, plan B, plan C, while others are going to build emotional bunkers and hide inside. You could be building an anti-fragility hatch. to get stronger from the stress caused by uncertainty. The third habit is to have psychological leverage. The most valuable skill in any room isn't what you know, it's how well you know the people in that room. If you can read people, you can move mountains. A famous socialite once had dinner with two legendary prime ministers on back-to-back nights, William Gladstone and Benjamin Disraeli. When asked about both of them, she said, "When I left the table after dinner with Mr. Gladstone, I felt he was the smartest man in England. But after my dinner with Mr. Disraeli, I felt like I was the smartest woman in England." That's what I call psychological leverage. When you meet someone who shows genuine curiosity about you, something fascinating happens to you neurologically. Researchers call it neural coupling. Your brain literally syncs with theirs. Psychological leverage, then, is not about manipulations, it's about being present, paying full attention to others, making genuine investments in them. That's what reading the room means, at least to me. And this concept points to a deeper theme. The tools may change, the technologies may change, but the human desires and the needs don't change much. So in every high-income role, sales or leadership or business ownership or investments or movie direction, whatever it is, your success depends on how clearly you can understand what others want, what they fear, what they expect. And today, we all know the most important social currency is attention, right? So people want to be seen, they want to be heard. And if you can give them attention without acting like a suck-up, then your career trajectory will invariably change. So how do we build this real psychological leverage? Let's try some tactical actions. First, map the humans, not just the org charts. Learn about your teams, their families, what makes them tick. Learn their patterns. Learn what drives them. Second, make curiosity your default mode. People remember how you make them feel, not how much you know. Be full of curiosity, ask more than answer. Make them the hero of your story, and they will remember you. Third, learn about various cognitive biases. All of us have them, I have them. Confirmation bias, recency bias, anchoring bias, authority bias. All of that will give you a framework to understand human behavior. Next is number 4, metacognition, or the art of thinking about thinking. Warren Buffett and Charlie Munger were not just great investors, they thought about their thinking differently. Munger once said, "I never allow myself to have an opinion on anything without knowing the other side's argument better than they do." That right there is metacognition. And there's a lot of research available. Meta-analysis of all the research in frontier psychology showed that in complex roles, which tend to be the high-income roles, our metacognition is a better predictor of performance than our IQ level. And metacognition is more than being present or being self-aware. Most of us are driven by autopilot, right? By habits, biases, intuition. Metacognition helps you interrupt those default modes. It gives you some kind of a feedback loop. So it's like you're not only playing the game, but also reviewing the tape to make the plays better. So if you want to hone the skill of thinking about thinking, here are a couple of things you can try. First, ask yourself questions like, what made me think that way? Or what made me do that? When you succeed or fail, try to investigate the assumptions, not just the outcome. Second, explain your thinking to yourself or others out loud. I talk out loud to myself all the time. Before any high-stakes move, I talk through my structure and my logic to a peer or to myself. And by the way, Jensen Huang famously does this. He's known for walking his leadership teams through his thinking process, especially when he hasn't made up his mind. And he says it actually helps him gain clarity because that process reveals the gap in his own thinking, in his own argument. That's a great example of how metacognition turns insights into income. That brings us to one of my favorites. The 70% rule is called decision velocity. Jeff Bezos pushed his leaders to make decisions with 70% confidence. Not 100%, not 80%, 70%. Because he believed that most decisions are two-way doors. If it's not right, you can walk it back. Because in high velocity environment, the cost of delay is often greater than the cost of mistakes. Decisiveness then is just courage with a clock on it. Think about Michael Jordan taking that three-pointer shot. It's a split-second decision. He doesn't have any time to analyze all the variables, so he has trained for years to make such a split-second decision in a blink of an eye. Tim Cook has an even more interesting test, and he says if the decision feels comfortable, it's probably not bold enough. That discomfort is a signal that he seeks out. This kind of decision velocity, the 70% rule, shows up everywhere. If we study a lot of people who rose fast, we see that they are wrong more often than they're right. But they make moves more often with incomplete information, and that's how they learn faster than the rest. So here's how you can learn to improve your decision velocity. First, label the door. Is this decision a one-way door or a two-way door? You will see that many decisions in our lives are reversible. And if they are, then move fast. Second, act on 70%. When you've got enough to be directionally correct, make a move. Make small decisions fast enough to build that velocity. Now, I'm not saying that leave your job tomorrow or invest $100,000 in a stock you just fell in love with this morning. None of that. Of course, we want to be decisive, not reckless. But like Jordan, you'll never know for sure if that shot will go in. And in certain situations, you won't have the luxury of time to analyze every single variable. Still, if you want to win, you've got to train your mind to take that shot. All right, habit number 6, productive failure. We need to be okay to lose. Roger Federer played more than 1,500 singles matches and lost 46% of points throughout his career. So he lost nearly half the time, but he's still considered the GOAT. Why? Because I think Federer understood something profound about tennis and life. Here are his 3 incredible insights. First, every tennis match has the same outcome. One person wins. The other flies home wondering about that one shot they should have made. That's life. We all have that list called, oh, I should have done that, right? Second, it's just a point. You lose your serve, okay, but now it's behind you. Now fully commit to the next shot. You lose only when you quit. You've lost a point, not the game. And third, and this is my all-time favorite, effortless is a myth. Masters that make it look easy work really hard. Thousands and thousands of reps after reps after reps. And it's not their gift, it's their grit that makes them successful. Overnight success takes 5,000 nights. These insights suggest that Federer has a very different relationship with failure. He knows that at the highest level of performance, margins are impossibly thin. And high-income earners also understand that failure is just feedback. It's just data for improvement. Here's what we can do to adopt Roger Federer's mindset. First, separate outcome from process. Did you execute your plan? Are you putting in your reps? Second, we've got to remember life is bigger than any single moment of success and failure. It's just a point. And third, if you watch Federer's incredible tiebreakers on YouTube, you realize that his brilliance comes from how fast he's able to recommit after a mistake. That's something we can practice as well. As Federer said, win or lose, all you have to do is play the next point. And that brings us to habit number 7. The most powerful thing we can put into our work is care and love. People will feel it, even if they can't explain why. When you care, it shows. Jony Ive is the legendary designer behind Apple's most iconic products, and he has a unique perspective. He says, what we make defines who we are. It shows our gratitude for those who use what we make. It's a great craft person's mindset. I was moved by it when I heard it. For Ive, the output of his work is all about love and care. It's an act of giving. It's an act of moral responsibility toward others. He often quoted Freud, love and work and love. That's all there is. And if you're incredibly lucky, like Ive was, or like I was, then those two would be the same thing. This mindset truly sets you up on a path to any high income role because it gives you a sense of ownership, a sense of gratitude, an uncanny depth of focus that's increasingly rare in today's distracted world. So when you deliver something at work and you've infused a lot of care into it, you will see details others would miss. These are the things that open doors for you quietly and keep them open permanently. So here are some things you could try to build care into your output. First, you can slow down. Before rushing into execution, slow down to set the intention. Why does this matter? Why do I care? What would excellence feel like here? Second, express your care through details. Crisp writing, clear design, no bugs in your output, that extra polish. Think about it. Apple thought about the design aesthetics inside the phone. No one would see it, but for them, those details mattered. Third, find joy in your work. Joy and humor are missing nowadays. Bring them back in your work. In a world chasing fast and loud, care is quiet, but it's unforgettable. Because in business and in life, folks who truly care are truly rare. So these are the 7 high-income habits. If you step back and take a look, you will see that they are all connected. Anxiety gives you energy. Antifragility helps you use chaos as fuel. Psychological leverage helps you understand others. Metacognition optimizes your thinking. Decision velocity creates learning cycles. Productive failure accelerates growth. And expressing care through work makes it all joyful and meaningful. So here's the invitation. Just start with 1 or 2. Pick your favorite ones. My 2 favorites are 70% rule and expressing care through our output. But hey, you pick yours. Test them for a while. See if they fit. If they work, keep going. If they don't, make changes. That's the whole point. High-income earners are high-income learners. If you found this video valuable, hey, please subscribe. Also, check out my video on how to build wealth and success without owning a business or starting a tech company. Thank you for watching. Stay curious, stay thoughtful, and please stay kind. I'll see you next week. Thank you, and I love you.